I've met so many people through all these competitions and traveling the world. Like, I've met people from everywhere. If you want to be part of this industry, all you got to do is have a go. There's a lot of support out there and there's plenty of people that will help you out. So just give it a crack.
This is the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, brought to you by Meat and Livestock Australia, the podcast for passionate butchers.
G'day and welcome to episode 48 of the Australian Butchers Guild podcast. I'm your host, Doug Piper. I'd like to give a great shout out to all the listeners out there who've supported the podcast over the past 3 years and to all the guests who've given up their time to tell their stories. If you aren't following the podcast, make sure you press that subscribe button and you won't miss an episode. Today's guest is Lewis Lack from Waters Butchery, Toowoomba. Lewis has had a pretty busy year so far, from competing in the AMIC Apprentice Butchery competition in Tassie early this year to his trip over to Paris for the 2025 World Butchery Challenge. Listen in as Lewis talks through his journey in the trade and how his passion for butchery has taken him halfway across the world. G'day, Lewis.
How are you, mate?
I'm great, mate. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You've had a pretty busy start to the year, pal.
Yeah, I definitely have. It's been a hectic year. I haven't stopped since the start.
I was just looking at a few things today and I was thinking that. I thought, gee, you probably haven't spent much time behind the counter or in the butcher shop lately. You've been gallivanting around the place.
I always manage to end up there some year.
Mate, for those of you who don't know Lewis has done a few competitions around the place with meat stock, and this year he took out the Apprentice Award that he won, the AMIC Apprentice competition down in Tassie, and that was the first time I met him, and looking at the competition that was there, it was unbelievable. Like, you know, it wasn't set in gold that you were going to win it, but boy, oh boy, everybody brought a great game to the table, didn't they, mate?
God, oh yeah, it was insane. Everyone was so good at what they did. All deserved to be there. So
yeah,
and somehow I managed to win it.
I've judged the AMIC ones for a few years now, and it was one of the closest ones I've seen yet, and the most talented butchers. Every year, everybody's getting better and better and better, and really understanding what they've got to do to win the competition, which, you know, obviously you did a lot of work to do to get there.
Yeah, it was a lot of practice, a lot of behind the scenes work, and yeah, it was full on. Everyone did great, and yeah, it was very close between all of us.
So, mate, you've only worked in the one shop?
Yeah, so I started off when I was about 13, just as a wash-up boy, like most of us butchers do, and then started my apprenticeship with Lockie, and I've been there the whole time.
So how many years is that?
About 5. It's coming up on 5 years.
Wow, okay. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, Lockie's supported you throughout the whole campaign, well, this year so far, and previously for your competitions and that?
Yeah, well, Lockie's been great. Like, ever since I started working for him, he's always been supportive and helping me chase my dreams, helping me do what I want to do. Even in 2023, I did the AMIC Apprentice Comp as well, and I got runner-up in Queensland. And even through that, he's just been so supportive and helped me get where I am.
It's good to see employers like Lockie doing that, supporting, you know, their apprentices and their butchers to go in these competitions, to, you know, to achieve, to grow. It actually makes you a better person, I think, makes you a better butcher, because you get so much more experience. You're networking with other butchers. You're going to be bringing home a lot of different ideas, hopefully back to the shop, and you know, and give him a few new ideas too.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've met so many people through all these competitions and traveling the world. Like, I've met people from everywhere, and they've all got great ideas, and I just take on board where I can. Winning that trip to Paris, is that your first trip overseas, or? Yeah, it was my first trip overseas. I got my passport 2 days before I left, so
that was cutting it fine.
Yeah, it was, definitely.
So what did you take away from it, mate? Tell us a little bit about the trip and what you had to do. Obviously, what you did to get there was to win the competition, the AMIC comp.
Yep.
But how was it there? How was the trip and everything?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was such a great experience to go over there and watch 14 countries compete in the job that we all do and the job that we all love. So, I mean, yeah, it was an experience for sure. It was crazy. And I've met so many people.
You went and saw a few butcher shops around the place, did a bit of a retail study tour, I suppose you'd call it?
Yeah, so we went to a heap of different butcher shops. We went to the abattoirs over there and to the meat market. Saw so much that I never thought I'd see, and I learned so much as well.
What were some of the takeaways?
I guess every country does things differently. Like over there, you don't see a lot of value-added stuff. You see a lot of small goods more so. like their ham, bacon, all that sort of stuff. It's everywhere. There's not really many steak cuts, or there's hardly any lamb over there, and it's a lot different to what we do here.
Yeah, we were over there quite a few years ago with the first Tri Nations competition. I went over for that, and we visited Paris, or over to France later on. And yeah, I found it really completely different. Very, very traditional, very old school sort of thing. And their range of meat that they had on for sale was, you didn't see a lot, but obviously they had whole carcasses in there that are breaking down. But, obviously you could get whatever you wanted from your butcher, and it was probably more of the old style personalised butchering, really.
Yeah, well, that's sort of what I thought. Like over here, we're always, not being rude to the customers, but trying to keep them moving, get them out of the shop so we can keep doing what we are doing. But I was standing in a butcher shop over there, and old mate was serving the same customer for probably 25 minutes, and we only got like 2 products or something. So it's just the experience of being in a butcher shop and talking to the butchers.
Yeah, that's a part of, I suppose, in today's society, we're so busy, and it is such a hands-on job, whether you're in Paris or wherever you are, even Australia. You've got so much to do. I remember the days where I used to visit a lot of butcher shops as part of my job, and I was down in North Rocks. There was a little Italian butcher shop. He had the side of veal hanging up. I think it was probably about a 30 odd kilo side of veal that he had there. And the Italian customer was telling him what part of the animal he wanted, and he had to cut it off for him. Then he wanted it boned out. Then he wanted it diced up a specific way. So yeah, obviously, that's where it all generates from, is from that European sort of vibe.
Yeah. And I mean, I wish we had the time to do stuff like that over here. We just do what we can, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose the whole butchery side, that it's not as intense as what we are. So you mentioned you don't see much value adding over there, which
no.
I noticed too. So obviously it gives you a little bit more freedom there to spend a bit more time with the customers.
Yeah, and like they're all small shops. There's not really any massive shops out there. They're all just street shops with a small counter, a couple of butchers, and it's not like the massive shops we see over here where there's 10 or 15 butchers like going as hard as they can. So it's a lot different.
And the competition itself, mate, can you see yourself doing that in a few years' time or next time round?
Yeah, well, I actually applied to do this one. I didn't make it through, unfortunately, but I was only a first-year apprentice at the time.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to try and give the next one a crack.
What would that be, 2028?
Yeah, so it's 3 years from now.
And you'll be young butcher then, or can you still go into the apprentice?
I'll be a young butcher by then, I'd say, yeah.
So I wonder where, you don't know where they didn't mention where that's going to be held next?
There's a few ideas floating around. I know Romania's had a bit of talk, Germany, or back in America again.
Oh, okay, wow.
But there is a little bit of talk about Australia as well. So hopefully it ends up here.
Yeah, I did hear a little whisper about that.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see. It'd be great if it did come here.
Oh, yeah. Be amazing.
I think the support that was generated this time around for the team, I've never seen that before.
No, it was they were everywhere. Almost every person I talked to that's got anything to do with butchering had something to do with them or been supporting them and doing something. So yeah.
Yeah, wow. I think that's a big win for the industry, because butchers are generally very reserved in their thoughts and don't really say a lot of things. I think, wow, I wish I was there, but it was just good to see so many positive comments on socials and speaking to butchers as well, how they thought, they were actually talking about it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
What did you see over there in the way of displays that you thought was pretty cool?
Oh, everything. It was all so full on. It was all amazing products, and I'm sort of happy I didn't get into this one because I don't think I could have pulled off what they did.
Yeah, right.
It was really full on. The products were amazing. They all looked so appealing, and everyone loved it. Everyone was all for it, and especially the Australian display. It was amazing.
It looked pretty special.
Oh, it was.
What was your favourite product that you saw? Did you get to go around and have a look at everybody else's displays?
Yeah, we got to walk around all the displays and have a good look. Out of the Australian products, they did like this little thing in a margarita glass. I didn't mind that. It looked pretty appealing. I don't know. It's hard to pick one. Out of the amount they did, they were all amazing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a lot of bling. That's what I've noticed over the years. The more bling, the better they are, sort of thing. to me, I understand that, but from a judge's point of view, it should be in the craft and the way that it's presented, not without the lights and bling and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it look good, but at the end of the day, you're getting judged on your skill. At the end of the day, you're a butcher. You're there to cut meat up, and that's what you need to be judged on. So
yeah, exactly. So you've also done a couple of meat stocks too.
Yeah, so I've done one meat stock.
You've done one. All right.
Yeah, so I did Butcher Wars, I think it was last year in Toowoomba. I got 9th there.
Well done.
So for my first one, I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
And looking back, I know I could have done a lot better. We'll give it another shot next year.
Yeah, they didn't have one this year, did they?
No, so I got cancelled 2 days out.
Would have been a hard choice. Joe would have been holding right out to the last minute, and then you just got to pull a pin and say it can't happen.
It would have been good if it happened. Like, we didn't get smashed by any storms or anything. There was probably an hour and a bit of rain the day of the event, but you can't predict it. So
no. So what's next for you?
Well, the plan is to get qualified in the next month or so. So get that, and then I'll probably stay working with Lockie for a couple more years. And then ideally the plan is to have my own shop. That's the plan. That's what I want to do. I don't know where I'll do it, when it's going to happen, but that's the goal.
Buying a shop or going into your own shop's a big step, obviously. The first thing you need is a bit of cash and a really good mentor too. And I think Lockie is probably going to be very supportive of that, of you going, provided he's got someone to fill your boots, or maybe he might even be thinking about retiring and you might take over his shop.
Well, he might come work for me.
You never know, mate. Yeah,
we'll see what happens, eh?
You can stick him out there on the filler all day.
Bit of payback.
You got to start somewhere. So any tips for anybody else to encourage them to do what you've done, to go in the competitions?
Oh, all I can say is just give it a crack. You're going to make mistakes, but at the end of the day, you're trying, and that's what's going to get you places. If you want to be part of this industry, all you got to do is have a go, because there's a lot of support out there, and there's plenty of people that will help you out. So just give it a crack.
Yeah, well said, mate. How are the boys? How are all the apprentice team and the young butcher team? How did they fare?
I didn't really get to see much from the first couple of days, but after the comp, I was talking to them a bit, and I mean, they were stressed out before it. You could see, and through the comp, you could tell they were stressing. But they all did amazing. That Kai Dennis, he did an amazing job. I loved his display. He's a great butcher.
Yeah,
he's a really good butcher. And he's definitely going places. They're a great bunch of people. The whole Australian team, they're great.
They're very close-knit. They've built a very special bond there. They are a really special team. They're probably one of the better teams that we've been able to put together to go to the competition. Young Jimmy, to be called up, not even 3 or 4 months out from the competition to jump in, put his hand up and do that. Big ask, but I believe he did quite well.
Yeah, he was really good, actually. He was stressing out, but in an environment like that, you do.
Yeah.
It'd be a hell of a lot worse than meat stock. So
Yeah, exactly. And I also love Matty Papandreou. I've known him since he was I think he was doing his apprenticeship when I first met Matty. And he's always been a great asset to any team, and he's such a brilliant butcher. And I just love the stuff that the Meat Smith boys put out, Justin and Troy and all that. Those guys are next level.
Yeah, they are. It's crazy. Like, some of the products we see around now, it's crazy how far butchering's come and how much further it's got to go, really. Like, I can't imagine in 10 years from now what it's going to be like.
Yeah, a lot more cooked stuff, a lot more cooked product, I think, which is the way that a lot of butchers are going.
There's a lot more getting around now.
And that's the way forward. In my day, I think the most thing we'd ever cooked was the legs of ham in the smoker. That was it. There was nothing really cooked in the shop. And I think we started, in my day, it was all stir fries and a few different flavoured sausages, and how far it's come since, that's when was that, in the late 70s, early 80s, that's when that was. So twice your time ago, sort of thing. So it's certainly come a long way with the pastries and everything. So which is, I'll be amazed to see how it's going to be in the next 10 years.
Yeah, it will be, definitely.
I know I asked you before, I believe there's something else coming up not too far away that you've put your hand up for. Yeah,
so when I did the Queensland AMIC comp, they had combined it with the World Skills Australia comp.
Oh, okay.
So winning that has put me into going to World Skills as well, represent Queensland. So there's 4 of us going from Queensland, and it's in 6 weeks, I believe. So I've got a bit of practice going on for that at the moment. and it's going to be pretty full on. It's going to be a good competition, and hopefully I can do pretty well at it.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of World Skills comps. We actually sponsor the beef and lamb for the competition, and I was there a couple of years ago. I think it was in Melbourne. I made it to that one. I haven't made it to too many of them, and I thought it was such a well-run comp. You got the boys out at Granville TAFE, and I think there'll be a couple from the local TAFEs up there in Queensland as well. It'll be there. They headed up, Benny Barrow and the boys, and they always do a great job. And it's a good competition because there's so many different trades there. And what I love about it is as soon as the butchers, the carcasses come out, so you'll bring out, I don't know what they bring out, the fours or whatever that you're getting. As soon as they bring them out, people just stop and they just gather around and watch you guys go for it. So it'll be pretty special sort of thing. You'll get a bit of a crowd around then.
Yeah, I mean, I guess people love watching artwork being produced, and that's really what butchering is at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me of, I used to work in a supermarket many years ago, and we had a servery as well as we had a like pre-pack area. It was massive. It was Franklin's Big Fresh. They were big suckers. And we'd get, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 lambs in at a time, and we'd just bust them up. And we had the sawman there breaking down the lambs, basically throwing them through a saw, like what you'd see in a processing facility. But he was really good. He'd be throwing the lambs through, and then we'd be just sort of prepping them all up. And the people that would stop out the front and just watch, it was good to see that people thought more of us than just butchers. We got a skill there that nobody else can do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we get people in the shop all the time that just sit there for 10, 15 minutes, and they're just like, oh, can we just watch what you do? Like,
yeah.
And even kids, like the amount of kids that sit there while their parents are shopping, just watch us do what we do. I remember when I was a young fella, I went into the shop all the time, and I'd do the same thing, just watch.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to sort of get an interest in the trade is by encouraging the young ones to stay in the shop for a bit longer. I remember going, my grandmother lived across the road from a butcher in Adelaide. Mr. Dawes was his name. That's all I knew him as, Mr. Dawes. And he was a really tall, he probably wasn't that old. He was probably in his 50s, and he had the tie and the slick back hair and everything. And it was Mrs. Wilcox, no Mrs. Wilcox, yes Mrs. Wilcox, whatever you want. But it was the way that he sort of engaged with the young people too, because he'd always say good day, he remembered my name, and he'd give me over there it's Fritz, not Devon, or whatever we have on this side.
Yeah,
it's better tasting stuff. So you give you a big, nice, thick slice of Fritz to stand there, and to this day I still reckon I can smell the sawdust on that every time. Every now and again I can. You get that. Oh, I remember that smell. Geez, that was a lovely smell. But you guys don't have sawdust anymore, but it was just the old traditional butchery sort of thing.
Yeah.
Brings thoughts back.
I remember when I was really young, I used to love going into the butcher shops. Get a little Cheerio. They'd always give me a Cheerio or something while I was sitting there, and it was my favourite part of the week, really.
Get a decent feed, getting a Cheerio.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there you are, butchers. That's how you do it. You start them young. You start feeding them up, giving them a couple of Cheerios or a slice of Devon or Fritz. I wouldn't give them Devon. I'd give them Fritz. Something nice, just to sort of give them that memory. And hopefully down the track, we'll get more people coming into the trade. It might be a little bit wacky way of doing it, but who knows? Who knows? So, mate, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do in your spare time when you got a couple of days off in a row?
Well, I like doing a bit of pig chasing, a bit of roo shooting. So I go out when I get a chance to do a bit of that. I love me camping, fishing, all the outdoor sort of stuff.
You're in a great part of the world to do that.
Oh, yeah. It's great here. I mean, I've got a couple of blocks around here that I go shooting on, 30, 40 minutes away. Get a couple of mates, go out shooting, catch a few pigs, take the dogs out for a run, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, sounds like a great lifestyle.
Oh, it is.
So what's your favourite cuts of beef and lamb? What would you take home from work if you're really feeling like something nice?
Oh, for a good feed, I love a nice thick cut rib fillet, reverse seared, lovely, with a bit of roast veggies, bit of mash. That's what I'd love to come home to every night.
Our rib fillet, you can't beat it.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, a lot of butchers love them. I think about 90% of the butchers, when we do the podcast, we say, what's your favourite cut? And they go for a rib fillet.
Yeah.
You get the odd one say something different, but it's either rib fillet or sirloin. I'm a sirloin guy, so.
If I'm doing a thicker cut steak, I'll go for the rib fillet or a sirloin.
Yeah, okay. So your plans are to get another butcher shop. You love rib fillets.
Yep.
You're living life pretty well at the moment, mate.
I am. I'm loving life at the moment.
Awesome, mate. Well, mate, been really good catching up with you. Really good having a chat. Wish you all the very best for World Skills. On if I get up there, I hope to catch up with you. Maybe have a beer or two
Yeah, I reckon that sounds like a
after
plan.
the comp. After the comp, not before the comp.
Yep, definitely.
Cool. You take care of yourself. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you.
This podcast is provided for information purposes only. The MLA Group strongly recommends that listeners exercise discretion and obtain professional advice before relying on any information in this podcast.